This podcast was created as a part of Podcast Lab by India Film Project in association with Anchor by Spotify.
I think writing, storytelling, and creativity bring people together. We are dipped in so much information, news, and facts that these mediums tie them together by humanizing the experience and emotion behind them so well, and they help people to connect with things in a more meaningful way. Through storytelling, we can get empathetic insights into a person's world, understand their struggles, their opinions, and their lessons, and the pen is definitely a mighty sword for a reason. One of the most important aspects of it is imagination and vision. A creative doesn't see the world around us as it is. There's so much out there, and there's so much of speculation and questioning. Many times I find myself connecting these roles to scientists because many times a creative is either trying to solve a problem, question a situation, and explore a possibility. It's amazing to see the power creativity and storytelling have, and they're definitely underestimated. There's a change in perception because the author has managed to explain a topic differently in a way that the broader public wouldn't have seen. I think that's powerful, don't you? Like the way the meaning of a design has been redefined and used to think like for so many different topics, whether it comes to help climate change, whether it comes to talk about old cultural norms and try to change that, or to just connect a person's sensibilities with another person and how they're feeling is just so powerful. Writing and creativity aren't just baseless stories or just something pretty. They're an actual tool to create change in a very personal level, and I think that is amazing. It's so powerful and it's so needed in today's world.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Closet Writer Chronicles. I'm your host Sangeeta, aka the Moody Marshmallow. You just heard our guest for today, Sudeeksha Somani. Sudeeksha is a graphic designer and the founder of Body Talk, which is a zine, or rather a platform that breaks stigmas on mental health and redefines body image through conversations, shared experiences, and creativity. Body Talk has been featured by various international communities like ArtsThread, Girl Zine Fair, Design Feed, and more. Sudeeksha has also been named a designer to watch out for by Design by Women. Join me as I talk to her about the journey of Body Talk, the power of art for a cause, and mental health. So, hey Sudeeksha, welcome to the Closet Writer Chronicles. It's so good to have you here.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
So, just kind of diving right in, you mentioned in the first part about what, writing and storytelling means to you. And what I found really interesting was that you said that stories can create change on a personal level. So I was just curious to know, what are some stories that have personally impacted you or have caused change? If you can maybe share some of those.
I think when I was experiencing a few struggles of my own when it came to mental health or just with the pandemic and life just being all up in the air, reading stories of people having similar issues, it helped just because then you don't feel so alone. And when you kind of figure out that it's just not you and everyone is going through something together, it just somehow normalizes the whole thing and then you don't stress out so much about it. I think one more thing which was more powerful now is when I read stories of black lives or of immigrants or like anything that I personally do not experience, it does hit home in a way of feeling like an outsider, feeling having that kind of struggle of wanting to have a voice, of trying to feel like you're part of a place. So I think what storytelling does and what creativity does is it creates this place of empathy, which people who do not they do not know the struggles people go through, or they do not know someone's story, or they do not know the, like, for example, Rihanna is like one of the women billionaires in the world now, and she started she had such a tough life. I mean, if you hear her interview, you read an article. So I think it just really humanizes a person, and you're able to kind of see that, yeah, there are different kinds of humans and there are different kinds of struggles, and uh, you, whatever like stigma or stereotype that you have about them, it just kind of goes away, because those were just created by the society and they are just walls. So I think storytelling and writing and art, design, all of that just kind of tears those walls down.
No, that's very true. And that's very relevant, actually, because even recently I've been trying to get into literature, which is by, especially in India, there's so much of literature by people from other states,
Yeah.
other castes, in fact. And, the perspectives they bring are so much more real because they've lived those lives, as opposed
Yeah.
to someone who doesn't come from the same background or experience, when they kind of give a sort of outsider perspective. I mean, I'm sure that there are writers who've also written about caste, but it's a very, it's not as lived in, it's not as authentic, I guess,
Exactly.
as you say. So I completely relate to what you're saying. And I think today, especially, you can see that in literature and even film, I think, with people
Yeah,
making so
definitely.
many different kinds of content. But, coming to the topic of mental health and, closely tied to storytelling. And of course, we have to talk about body talk, which I think has been such an amazing creation of yours. It's absolutely beautiful. I remember the first time, I
Thank
heard
you.
about the
Yeah.
magazine. Yeah. And I went and I checked out your digital zine. I got the physical magazine as well. Both are such immersive experiences. I'll definitely be linking it in the description for anyone who wants to go check it out. Please do go check it out. It's truly amazing. But yeah, just coming to the magazine, how did you get the idea to start something like Body Talk? Because yes, mental health, especially I think during the pandemic, has been a very relevant topic. But the
Yeah.
thing is, I don't think a lot of people have really done it in a way where it's sort of artistically presented,
Yeah.
so to speak. Because what I love is your magazine is very aesthetically appealing, but it has so much substance and there's a lot of content in it. So I'm just curious to know, how did Body Talk start, and what has the journey with that magazine been like till now?
Wow, what a journey. It's been a year and it feels like it's been 10. Um, it started because it was a graduation project in my undergrad. And that time I didn't really talk about mental health. I spoke about negative body image. That's where a little bit of mental health came, because when you have negative body image, you develop anxiety, depression, body dysmorphia, eating disorders. So it was a really nice way to tying both of them together. But the idea was like then back in 2017, and I found it so incredible when I was researching and gathering information and stories then, that I was like, this is something, these are stories that need to be told. And I think they helped me in a personal level as well, because I am conscious of my body. I was even more conscious before, and I think Body Talk back then, during that research, the very beginning, helped me in so many ways, that I was like, okay, this is something I need to do in the future. And when I came back from my master's in London, um, I realized that, yeah, like, because things were very much up in the air in my life as well. So, um, so when I came back, I realized that there's not that much information available on mental health. So I went for this event, and it was on depression, and Deepika Padukone had come. with her therapist and her doctor. And it was a great panel. I was really excited because I was like, okay, I love Deepika and I really respect her for the struggles and for coming out. And I really wanted to know her story and understand how to help others and how to deal with it yourself. And when I went for it, there were people busy. This is a typical Delhi crowd. People were busy talking about everything other than that around me while they were talking. And I had one question which I really wanted to ask, but it was the last one left. And I got interrupted by this journalist who got up and asked about her engagement with Ranveer.
Oh my God.
And yeah, and what they're planning to do and whether they're engaged, where the honeymoon will be. And everyone was just like, what? Like on stage, Deepika was just, she handled it. Obviously, she must be so used to this. She was just like, I'm here to talk about mental health. Can we just focus? And that was the last question, and that's it. So I was like, this is what you interrupted me for. Like, it was not even a valid question. And that really infuriated me because I think the whole environment, even the place I was sitting in, and it just felt like they've come to see her and not the content, not hear about something that's important. And I think that just was in my head when I came back from the UK, and I was like, there's so much of a difference. And the pandemic has just hit. People are struggling. People have lost people, they've lost their jobs, they're trying to make ends meet. Being isolated itself it's insane. You develop all kinds of issues, and it's harder to go out now, and there are all kinds of things. And I was like, this is the perfect time. I have all the time in the world. I am jobless, I have nothing to do, and yeah, this is the perfect time. And I just kind of opened all my old notes. I decided that this is my main thing now. I'm going to attach body image and I'm going to attach mental health, and they go really well with each other. And I'm going to try and make a difference. And one of the ways, the way I saw Body Talk is that it's not a magazine, it's not a website, it's not an Insta page. It's a message. And below that, there are different ways to communicate it. And one of the ways to communicate it is the zine. Now, talking about the zine, it's a magazine for people who are not sure about what it is, because it's a term used in the design world. It's a term used in, I guess, schools and colleges who have journalists, and it's that kind of a world. So many people wouldn't know what it is, but basically, it's something that you can just put together, and it doesn't need to be published under a publishing company for it to be launched. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to get everyone together. I was networking a lot at that point. And there's so many people who decided that they were like, this is something so important. I want to talk about it. I want to help you. I want to contribute. Please tell me how. And I wanted it to be different. And I wanted it to be something that people don't have to just read, like a document or a news,
Right.
or something that's a bit boring for people who are not interested in it. You need to find things that people would find appealing. It's just
Exactly.
like packaging design. You would only go towards something that's pretty
Yeah.
because you're just like, I do this a lot, and I'm a graphic designer. I judge books by their covers, like
Yeah.
because I mean the people who've designed that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's why art and design was so important to me, because I think I've been an artist all my life, and then I became a designer, and the one thing that I truly believe is that it's the most effective way to connect to a person's soul. I mean, this sounds so poetic and so cheesy, but because you can see it in whatever way, you can perceive it in whatever way. It talks about emotions and feelings, and I don't know, there's so much of imagination and expression that it just is not so boring and mundane as reading a normal magazine. And yeah, like people around the world are, of course, so much more open about it because it's been part of the education system. And that's why it was so important for me to get everyone around the globe to talk about it, because it's something that everyone goes through. It's not based on culture, religion, uh, like your geography, your gender, nothing. It's not.
Yeah,
And it's
because
something that,
no, because I remember I was going through the zine and it said that you had contributors from over 15 countries, which is
yeah,
incredible. And for the first, edition to have that kind of response is just unbelievable.
it
So,
was
I mean,
so
it's,
overwhelming.
yeah,
Yeah.
because the fact that, okay, yeah, yes, you were networking, but you even to get that kind of reach it's not easy. I can't imagine, what it must have taken to, first of all, reach out to all these people and then, actually get them on board. And
Yeah.
also, how was that? Because I'd also imagine it's not easy to manage that kind of talent, because I think each creator has their own unique voice and aesthetic when it comes to things. And
Yeah.
obviously, since you're kind of like the managing editor in a way, you're kind of putting all this together. I would
Yeah.
imagine it, like, how was it managing them? Because I would imagine they have their own way of doing things, and suddenly, they're doing this for one particular project. And I don't know, were there ever cases where maybe you felt, oh, like, I think this is digressing a bit, let's, bring it back? Or was the diversity what really played into the zine being what it is today? Like, was it easy? Was it
Um,
tough? How did you go about it?
um, I think a bit of both. Uh, I kind of just put it out there that I'm looking for submissions, and there were all kinds of submissions. Um, and yeah, the point was to kind of go through and see what works, what is the kind of tone I want to go for, what is the kind of message I want to say by the end of the day. Whether I want it to be about the struggle or whether I want it to be about the struggle and coming out of it, because that's a very big difference. And I wanted to make sure that it ends in a good note. And whatever I spoke to, talking about the zine with the contributors and trying to explain them the brief as such, um, I made sure I told them that. I was like, listen, I want to be sure that we talk about how we feel, we talk about the challenges we've gone through, the things we've done to come out of it. But I want the reader to feel hope in the end. I don't want the reader to feel like, wow, life sucks. I, I want it to be like, okay, these struggles are so real. There's so much of vulnerability in these pages. There's so much of um, depth, but there's also so much of hope. There's also so much of faith and work that goes into it. Um, so I think by having these few brief guidelines, it was able to kind of have the tone of it. And then a lot of projects I found online, like because I had just graduated, I was able to see the whole grad show online and see everyone's projects. And there were a few that really stood out to me, and maybe they were trying to say it something else. That's the best part about art and design. They were trying to say something else. But I saw it as something else, and then I emailed them saying, this is incredible. But if you don't mind, I see it like this. Would you mind me using your work to say this? And I think because, yeah, I think that's when the contributors were like amazing. Like, I just got really lucky, I think, because they were just like so open about it. And they were like, yeah, like, I would love to contribute and I would love to have you perceive it in a different way, because that is what creative field is. That is what it is. And there were some things that people were saying, like for example, in the digital zine, there is a 3D model which people can experience by scrolling and going through the different thoughts as such that the person was trying to say. That was something different. It was not so much about therapy. It was more about isolation. And I was like, but this is so much more than that. Your project is just not that. It says like 20,000 things. So, can we work on it to say that? And I think that's how I was able to do it. And
Right.
because people were from all over the world, the digital zine itself had more people, like because the content is different. So I think it would be like 20 countries in total and 40 creatives or something. And everyone just came together, and I was able to structure it in a way that it felt like it's a flow. The diversity really helped, but by the end of the day, it was the same thing that they were saying. And that's what I wanted to show.
No, that's true, because like you said, mental health is such a universal experience, and it's a universal issue, because
Yeah.
every person going through depression, it's the same thing. I mean, yes, everyone's going through it differently, but it's the same terminology by the end of the day,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever it is, because you do relate regardless of what your ethnicity, culture is. If you're going through something that is mental health related, 110% there will be some relatability with someone else who's possibly going through something similar
Yeah.
or the exact
Yeah.
same thing. Which comes to mental health in, I guess, South Asia and India in general. It's such a broad subject. What are some of the topics you really want people to be more aware of in terms of mental health? Because I know your zine talks about many things. I know body image is one of the main things you talk about, but I'm just curious to know, like, what is something you really want people to know, to talk about, to be more aware of, and you possibly hope to do through body talk?
I think when it comes to aiming at South Asia and India, with body image, I want to talk about colorism. It's so real. People abroad are just like, what? But like, I don't understand. You're brown. What do you mean? There's shades of brown. Um, and also, we need to stop comparing ourselves to foreigners, comparing ourselves to Victoria's Secret models. I'm guilty of that. Been there, done that. But yeah, I think being more aware of the fact that okay, we are more curvy, and that's good. We have short people, we have really tall people, and we have really dark skin, and that's okay. I mean, look at Rihanna, look at Beyonce, look at anyone like that. There's so many people who just randomly, that's so pretty. How does it matter? And when it comes to mental health, I just want it to be a conversation. I mean, I'm not even going to go down. We're just scratching the surface here. We
Right.
haven't even started the conversation properly. I was so afraid that India is finally talking about mental health now because of the pandemic. I was so afraid that it's just something that's happening because of the pandemic and everyone else is talking about it. I was like, this needs to, like, I need proof that this is a conversation once COVID is not present. Yeah,
Exactly.
because
Yeah,
that's
that
when
is
you
that is
know.
very true.
Yeah. So I want it to be a conversation. I want people to be like, oh, you want, like, you're feeling low? Okay, here's the contact of a therapist. Why don't you just talk? You're feeling low? Like, why? Do you want to talk about this? I don't want a response of just be busy or just think happily. Or you're getting an anxiety attack. Oh my God, why are you feeling so weird? Why are you under the table? Like, are you weird? Like, these are things that are just, I mean, why are we still in that space? Why are we're so aware of everything? We're so busy following the West, by the way, with everything. Let's just take the good stuff that the West has as well, which is talking about things and just normalizing it.
For sure. Because, during the pandemic, I was kind of talking to different people about mental health. And um, I got in touch with this one doctor who, who works for mental health. And he was saying, and I didn't even know till that point, but schizophrenia is actually the second leading risk factor for people who have COVID to die from. The first one being age.
Really?
Yeah, age was
Oh,
the
I
first
didn't know
one.
that.
Yeah, people with schizophrenia apparently they don't get proper care if they contract COVID, because as it is,
Yeah,
they're
I can
getting. Yeah,
understand that.
it's a very complicated, and it's such a niche situation, but at the same time it's so prevalent, you wouldn't think that it would be like the second leading risk factor for this. And then
Yeah.
later I read up on it, and I was like, oh my god, this is an actual thing. I wasn't even aware of it till some like a professional came and spoke about it, and I said, oh my god, I had no idea. And then I went and read about it, and it's crazy. So like you said, it is the need of the hour. It has been the need of the hour for I don't know how many years. And like you said, it is high time we started having the conversation, but also at the same time, I think actually doing something tangible. Of course,
Yeah.
acknowledgement of the problem is the first step, which I think hopefully we're getting there, because I like with initiatives like Body Talk and other NGOs coming into the scene and stuff, and other initiatives, hopefully this conversation will be a lot more prevalent. People will understand it better for sure. But yeah, no, I really want to thank you for doing this for sure, because it is much needed. And I think it'll definitely have a reach because you're reaching out to people from not just in India or South Asia, but literally globally, which is incredible. So yeah, kudos to you for like coming up with this. And I can't wait
Thank
to see
you.
where Body Talk goes. No, really, it's amazing. And just, on that note, kind of coming back to the magazine, what is the best part of starting a magazine like Body Talk been? And also, what's been the most challenging thing for you?
Yeah. The best part was honestly just talking to contributors. Um, it was like I've always wanted to have a magazine of my own. I always expected it to be a fashion magazine, but I think this is also, I mean, there's so many ways you can tie them together, so it's fine. But I think the best part was definitely talking to them and hearing their stories and just seeing the amount of talent out there and trying to figure out like how to give their work the best medium for viewing, because I was very particular about the digital zine not being a PDF. I wanted people to experience it like as if they're looking at a film or in an exhibition. I wanted the physical copy to be as attractive as well as have the most deep information possible. Um, and I think the hardest part was the pandemic just ruining everything. Yeah, I think because I had to pause my production at least twice because of the pandemic. And I was supposed to come out with the zine in March. And I ended up coming out with it in, I think, June or July. I can't even remember. But yeah, it got delayed like a lot. And the tough part was the fact that I was not able to kind of be there in the printing shop, seeing every single thing. I would just go in for a bit with a mask and, do as much as possible over the phone or, by sending the car here and there. And that was the tough part. The tough part was also selecting everything. I wanted to include everyone because everyone has so many different views. It was a tough time selecting it, and that's when I decided, okay, fine, there's just too much. I want to use all of it. I refuse to listen to people who are like, a magazine should have only 10 things or just 15. And that's when I came up with both the mediums. Yeah, so I think that was the best part. And like I learned a bit of CSS, I learned a bit of HTML while doing the digital zine, and that was fun.
Yeah, no, and I think both versions of the zine have come out so incredibly. Like, as I mentioned, they're both such immersive experiences in their own way, which is why I think it's so incredible. I can't even imagine the kind of time and effort you've taken to really build this. And it shows, it really shows. But yeah, again, kudos to you, man. This is an amazing initiative. I can't wait to see what you do with the zine, how it grows from here, because it is only going to grow. It's that kind, it's that piece of content which you take a look at and you just know it's going to grow. Like I can see that for sure. What are your creative aspirations? Doesn't have to be creative. It can be something you're just generally aspiring for in life. And, what are you looking forward to?
That's a heavy question. Everything else was super light. So I'm a designer by the end of the day because I'm super curious, which is a good thing, but also annoying because I want to do everything. Um, I want to carry on as a graphic designer and work on projects and figure out ways to have conversations about things that need to be spoken
Right,
about the climate, for example, or about social issues, anything actually,
right,
and try to figure out what kind of a designer I want to be when it comes to the mediums I choose, and also carry on with body talk on the side. That's something which is very ambitious yet again, but I think that's just my thing now.
yeah, for
I
sure.
like overcrowding in my head and working on everything because body talk is so important. I can't give it up.
For sure.
And I'm a designer as well. That's my identity too, and I can't give that up either.
Mm,
I've just scratched the surface. So I think with both of them, there's a lot coming.
right,
I don't know much about me as a designer, but I know there's a lot coming for sure with body talk, and
yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it because I've kept body talk as something super open. Hopefully, I get to collaborate in the fashion world, which is something I'm super passionate
Oh,
about, and
nice.
it has something with body image and mental health for sure in that industry. And yeah, it's just open for interpretation. It's open for any kind of collaboration through
Right.
industries. And yeah, so I'm really excited to see where that goes. And I'm really excited to see where I go as a designer.
And I'm sure you'll go very, very far because, like I said, body talk is incredible.
Thank
Again,
you.
this is going to sound like, I know everyone's going to think that I'm like promoting this, so this is like an ad, but it's really not, guys. Like, please go see that magazine. You will know why I'm raving about it so much. I mean, and I really have to add this there that whoever goes and checks out the digital zine or the physical zine, the first issue of it, it's a yes, there are contributors from like over 15 countries, but it's all been like put together, done, designed, compiled by Sudeeksha. So it's literally like a one woman army who's like done that entire process, which is why it's so commendable. And I cannot stop raving about it because it is insanity what you did to
You're
pull that
mad.
off
Thank
in
you.
such a short time frame. But yeah, I can't wait to see what you're going to do in future because it's so incredible that just you did that. I really don't know where you're going to take it, which is why I'm so excited for the journey body talk has ahead of it, which I'm sure will be fabulous. Coming to our last question, which is
Yes.
possibly heavier than the previous one. But yeah, what is a piece of advice or learning you'd like to share with people? Again, this can be creative or general life advice, maybe a life lesson you've learned and you'd like to share with people.
No one knows what the hell they're doing. Honestly. That is so comforting. Like I don't mean to like say it in a way that I hope people get like even more anxiety listening to this, but it's so comforting because like I think trying to figure out everything myself in the past 1.5 years, applying for jobs, trying to do a startup, trying to like network all over the world,
Right.
learning stitching, which is something that I had no idea about, learning social media, learning advertising, learning, um, yeah, how to put a magazine together. Like the constant in my head is like, no one knows what they're doing till you do it.
That's true.
So it's so like comforting because then you're just like, okay, the people who you aspire to be and the people up there who you're just like, they are doing life perfectly or they're like goals. And I wish I could be doing something like that. Well, they have been in your position as well.
Hmm.
And I think you have to constantly, like, at least I had to constantly remind myself that this is just the beginning. You cannot expect yourself to be perfect at everything. I am a perfectionist, which is why it's a struggle. But once you realize that honestly, like everyone starts at the bottom, no matter
Right.
what, you're not born with the skills. You have to work for it. Um, and the more you work, it's honestly so rewarding because I have worked so much in the past 1.5 years that I've never worked throughout school. I mean,
Right.
throughout school, I have not at all worked that much, all 12 years. And in 1.5 years, I worked so much. And I just kept thinking it was not enough. I was not doing enough. I mean, it's like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm not able to reach enough people, or I don't think this is perfect. I don't think this is the best. There's so many other good ones out there. But the minute you stop comparing and see your own progress, see that you still try to figure something out yourself. You still sat down and you were like, okay, I have to do this. And you didn't give up. And I
Right.
think that's something that we need to constantly remind ourselves, because everyone has those thoughts. Everyone is like, I don't know what I'm doing in life. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. And
Right.
honestly, the people you aspire to be do not know how the hell they're doing it either. Like, I have spoken to so many people that even the people who are like, they have so many times in their lives where they get projects or even personal issues where they're just like, I don't know how to deal with this. But they deal with it, and that's how you learn.
That's
So
true.
never give up, guys. There's always something out there. Just, I think hope is the only thing that
That
has
is so
always
true.
kept me going.
No, that is so true, and I think it's much needed, especially in today's times, just with the kind of
yes.
issues. I think especially with the whole pandemic situation, I think everyone's gone through a very tough time, a low phase, and I think hope is the only thing that's keeping everyone going right now. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Sudeeksha. It's been lovely talking to you. I'm so
Thank you so
happy.
much.
I'm so happy we had this talk, and I can't wait for this to come out on World Mental Health Day.
Oh my
So
God.
yes, this will be coming out
That's
on World
awesome.
Mental Health Day. So whoever's listening, please remember to take your mental health seriously. Please remember to take the mental health of your loved ones seriously. It is not shameful to have an issue. It's not a stigma. It's only if we work together, I think, as a society, as individuals, can we actually kind of accept it for what it is and overcome it together. So thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you so much for having me. This is amazing. And you're doing such a great job. Like, these things need to be spoken about, and they're out there because of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sudeeksha. So that was my conversation with Sudeeksha Somani. I'm so glad that I got to release this episode just in time for World Mental Health Day. But remember, the journey doesn't end here. Let's keep the conversation going and start looking at what we can do as individuals and a society to deal with mental health. Closing this episode with 2 excerpts from Body Talk narrated by Sudeeksha. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I'll see you next week with a new guest and a new chronicle to share. Talk soon!
One of the extracts I'm taking is from an article from the Body Talk Zine by Rihanna. It's called The Beauty in Life. Motherhood is a pivotal moment in a woman's life. The transition from woman to mother is massive. Some people say that on the day your baby is born, so do you. You will be born together. Pregnancy comes with a huge change in our bodies, from hormones to the growing and expanding of our physical body, to accommodate the life of another growing body, which can be a hard transition to come to terms with in its own right. Your body, in a way, is no longer just yours. Your organs not only move out of the way, but you also grow a new organ. The feelings and emotions of seeing yourself grow is not always easy, but you know that it is you and your body that can not only grow but nourish a little human is not only mind blowing but a very complex thing. We forget about how powerful our bodies are with such a big task, the task of life. The birth of your baby can be an awakening. It is an amazing, shocking, transformative experience. The only thing I wish I knew much sooner is that I didn't need to feel so ashamed of my body before that moment, before my own awakening. It's interesting how we can only see what's on the outside, but everything else happens on the inside. Hence, it's so important to check in with ourselves, to forgive ourselves, to have self compassion, to realize I am a human being and therefore I am not perfect. It has taken me 18 years to realize this. 3 of those were in therapy. They have been the most insightful part of my life, together with a lot of self development, for me to come out at this point, and that's okay. We all learn at a different pace, but I hope my daughter doesn't need to wait until she becomes a mum to realize how powerful her body, and her mind are. I hope she has self compassion and love from a younger age. I hope she respects herself for who she is, because that is what makes her beautiful. That is the true beauty of life. The reason I read this is because A, there's so many people getting pregnant now, and also that it's something that's really not spoken about enough. The struggles a woman goes through, the emotions, the roller coaster, the body changes, the body image. It's just about getting pregnant and giving birth. The in between is literally when the mother is born again. And it's something so important to talk about, because they don't know that they're the only ones. They don't know that there are other people who are experiencing something very similar, and they don't know how to actually cope with it. Another reason why I read this is because I love the way that she ends, that her daughter learns from her own mistakes and tries to have self-compassion in her life and is more confident in the future. I feel like everyone is trying to do something better right now so that the next generation doesn't have to have those struggles. And a lot of the things that I'm doing, I hope helps with that as well. I'm going to read another piece of writing from the Zine. As I wiped my tears and got up from the bathroom floor, I felt exhausted. However, there was this fire that burned brighter to remind me it still existed. I promised myself that I'd try again. I washed my hair to remove all my self-loathing dirt. I had grown and started nurturing myself. I drank tons of water, ate good food, and went for a run. As the days went by, there was something new growing around me. This time I smiled and welcomed the blossoms. How rewarding it can be to find the strength to start again. Please don't give up.